Hey guys, we had a very interesting game here. This is one in which white had a pretty big lead in territory after capturing a bunch of black stones here and up here. But when black played this 3-3 invasion, black was able to live and white lost his big lead and black was eventually able to eke out a win. So the key point was right here. So this black group should probably not live. And in the game, white played this way, and black played there, and now black is just alive. And despite all these stones that white played, white isn't going to have much territory here now. And even though white tried to kill after this, there's simply no way. But instead, right here, we want to play not this one here, but instead this Hane. The corner is really the center of life, so we really want to prevent black from getting these eyes right around here. And after this Hane, I don't think there's any way that black can live. If black just plays this reasonable push, we block. And even right like this, we can see that this is a dead shape. White can just exchange this one Atari and Hane. And now there's no way for black to live. If instead black tries to connect back here, maybe something like this, we can just calmly block, and there won't be any way for black to make two eyes. So if this black group had died, white would have had a big lead, but since black was able to successfully live, black was able to win this game. All right, so let's take a look back from the beginning. We saw another one of these kicks that has become very popular in recent days because of AI. And then we had this sort of double Hane Joseki here. So this tiger's mouth here is okay. It's not the most common. Usually we see this double Hane here, where black will exchange its Atari, connect, white plays here, and black will either descend or possibly push once here. That's the most common. But this is a very common result that's even for both sides. This one is okay, but it's a bit more complicated. So the key move here is that after black Ataris, we actually don't want to connect like this, because then we end up with kind of this awkward dumpling shape, and black shape is very strong. Instead, we actually want to make this very flexible ko shape. And the idea isn't exactly that we're going to play this ko right now. It's just to sort of create some flexibility for later. So if black takes, we could try playing a ko threat here, but more likely we would just play somewhere else and wait to see how the situation changes. So I'd say if you're going to play this hanging connection, you should be prepared not to connect, but to play for the ko here. So yeah, this is a good invasion here. This is definitely a very good whole board move. But black shape is actually pretty weak here. There's these two big cutting points. So white could take advantage of that just by cutting here. I think the best black can do is descend, and then white can actually capture Incente. So taking this one stone Incente and reducing Incente is very powerful. And white could still then play the 3-3. So I think this would look better for white. But this invasion is still good. We had this sequence here. So we can see that white is kind of taking these two corners, and the other two are sort of still up for grabs, although black's probably going to get one on the upper right. This is a good move. So black chose to split here, which makes sense to me. But if we remember that this white group really isn't quite as weak as it looks, since this cut is always here. So it's basically as if we already have this shape, so we can see now that these stones aren't really weak. So white chose to play this shoulder hit, but I think this is sort of the wrong direction. If you're going to play in this area, I would just choose to make a 1-point extension here. And the reason is that, I mean, you could just Tanuki and play here or something, but this move can be a bit annoying because there can be some Aji here later to pull out this stone one way or the other. So it can be nice for white to get this 1-point jump and kind of get rid of some of that Aji, and then the best black can do to make an extension is just like that, which is very small. But this sort of strengthens black. So I think this Kama is not great shape here. So when white jumps like this, we see this kind of sequence a lot, We usually want to play here because we just want to mess with white's shape. If instead we play this, then later white can play this sequence, and we can see that white shape is excellent, but black shape is not very good. So this K15 is really a vital point in the shape between both groups. Yeah, so this F14 move is good for black. It's a good way to connect. If white's going to do anything, white would want, like, you don't want to play, these sorts of moves which can really strengthen black. Instead of black, if white was going to try something, you would probably want to try Haneing like this. However, in this case, this might do some damage to white's corner, so it might not be so good in this case, but it could be good Ooggggg to leave for later. So if, for example, we play this sort of shape sequence here, and then maybe here, we can create some Ooggggg to later look for this Hane at F14. But if we are going to push like this, I think we definitely want to cut here. So this cut looks very good to me. I think it would be hard for black to handle this cut. These stones really don't have great shape here. If black just extends, white can just extend, and these stones are really in trouble here. And I don't think it's any better if black tries to like Atari out or something like that. This cut looks pretty severe to me, so I think it's a bit of a missed opportunity for white. Although this is a good like whole board move. So just one shape point here. I think black played the empty triangle in the game. But as we all know, like we usually want to avoid this shape. So we can just play something like this instead, which is a little bit stronger, and it strengthens these two stones up top. If white were to play here, we would just connect. But this is a bad exchange for white, so white probably is not going to play that way. So I think this would be better shape. So instead of this peep, I would still just cut. Same as before, it's not clear how black would handle this cut. And so, oh yeah, so instead of that attachment, I really would fix this cut. I know I keep going back to this, but it really is pretty severe. Let me see. Oh yeah, so right here, black doesn't really have great shape, so we can just Atari here, capture here, because black is going to have to connect. And then white can just Tanuki. We don't really need to play here necessarily, especially with this cut here, but even if it's not that cut, even if it's this cut here at R16, or I don't know, invading here at Q13, I think that would be a good way for white to take Sente. So black played a good move here to kind of ruin some of white's territory. This is why these pushes aren't always so good. It's not really clear how white profited here, and in fact, black profited a bit at the top. But when you have these three stones in like a pushing sequence like this, you almost never want to Tanuki. And the reason is that this Hane at the head of the three stones is just really, really painful. It's like in some ways even worse than the Hane at the head of two stones. So when you have the three stones like this and white plays here, you almost always need to add the extra move. And if you don't, you will regret it when white eventually Hanes here, and then double Hanes, and your shape kind of falls apart. And I think this Hane is a bit of an overplay. I think maybe just the extension instead. So white did a good job of taking advantage of black's cutting points here. We have kind of this confusing group of stones, but we can see that this ladder isn't going to work. So black is going to have to find another way out of this sequence. So basically black is going to have to decide what stones to sacrifice. So I think that actually these stones aren't really that important. I mean, they're worth a lot of points. I mean, they're worth some points, but they aren't really doing that much. White stone's already connected. However, these three black stones, A, B, and C here, are very important because this D stone is the cutting stone that these 3 stones here are separating. So these are the 3 stones we really don't want to lose. So instead of playing like this, what if we, for example, just jump here? And again, we're really trying to put pressure on this triangled stone here. That's what we're trying to attack. It's okay if black loses a couple of these stones here, because this area is starting to look very big. And even here, it would be possible, even if not ideal, to instead sort of just push up like this, and even maybe one more time, and then try and take some big area here, and just sacrifice these stones. Of course, black is going to have to be ready to deal with this cut, but that was there all the time anyway, so black would have still had that problem. But this could be a good way to at least make this big moyo on the right side. But I think maybe this was a misread, and still black has one more chance here to kind of pull out and just take the stone. And this would probably be the best white could do. But after white captures, white is in pretty good shape here. This lower left corner is very big. Black still has this major cutting point here and not much territory. And black's territory on the right side is still very open to invasions like here or here. And as I said, that cutting point. So I think the game is looking very good for white at this point. So yeah, as I said, there's no reason to Atari. We can just simply cut here in Sente. Oh yeah, and if black did try to save the stone, then white could play like this and basically just take the whole corner. And right here, like, we should just capture as white, because black is going to be forced to block here, and now there's a huge ko. Just like this. And even if black has, a couple local ko threads, it's really a picnic ko for white, so there's no reason not to play it. And for black, that's why this extension probably isn't good. Black should just connect here. So black sort of had maybe one chance here to kind of just reduce white's territory here, assuming that the invasion at c3 is not going to work. So I think this would have been a better way. These clamps here are kind of like a special case move, and you really have to have the read for it, because if white pulls back here, then it's going to be a good result for black. But you really have to be worried about what will happen if white resists by pushing out. And in this case, I don't think there was really much that black could do. So I think it would be better just to calmly reduce this way. And then I guess it's worth a try to invade here maybe and see what happens. Because black is going to have to find some way to come back here. And of course, the thing is, this ko is still here. And again, it's really quite big. So black has to be worried about what ko threats he has on the board, or he has to be worried about losing a lot of points in this corner. But white played very well here in resisting black's invasion. And so after white plays here and captures all these stones, white has really a big lead in territory. Black tried to push in a little. And it's going to be very hard for black to come back. Let me just go back to that. Oh yeah, so this is just another case where white could have taken Sente to play there. And I think probably instead of Atarying that way, we want to Atari this way, just to push into black's territory a bit more, but this is still a good move. And we can see that white is really reducing black. And so here we have the sort of key invasion again. So this was a very sharp move for white to play this B3 Hane. I think a lot of players would have just played here, and then black could have made this ko here, which even this would be a disaster for white, because there's no reason it should even be ko. And this is actually a good sequence to know. So if you're invading like this, and your opponent blocks here, then after this Hane, you don't connect, you play this hanging connection, and then you can play for this ko. But I think white was ready for that, and so played this Hane. And black found, I think, a good move here, but this is sort of, as I was saying at the beginning of the review, this is a key life and death moment, and the move is this Hane. You know, when in doubt, always read the Hane first. That's my advice for life and death, especially these Hanes like right in the corner on the first line. And we can see that there's no way black can connect back. And this simple push, there just isn't going to be enough room. I showed this variation, but I think even if white were to Hane first, there's no way for black to make two eyes. And even if black descends, white can play here. So there's no way this black group can live. But black did a good job of sort of seizing this opportunity. So this is why doing life and death problems is just so important. And so white tried here, but it's not possible. And then after this, white lost a lot of the lead, and black was just sort of able to make it back on endgame. And this is one last opportunity where white could have captured here. And this probably would have been enough, actually, for white to win the game, because it was only a couple points. And even if white doesn't want to fight the ko, white could just play here. And just like this, and that's worth just so many points. But I think after, and even here, there's one more chance, but after this, the opportunity kind of goes away, and now it's too late to take this one stone. And then I think it was just endgame. So that's about it for this game. I thought it was very interesting to see it sort of shift back and forth. And so in conclusion, white did a great job attacking these two black groups that had a lot of cutting points. Although white missed an opportunity to cut up here, but black was able to mount a very amazing comeback by living here in the corner with some good life and death skills. So black was able to win this game. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and let me know if you have any questions.